Why not you? Who wants to be an astronaut? Well, I don't know if I can be. There's going to be astronauts tomorrow. Why not you? I want to be a professional, athlete. Well, there's going to be professional athletes tomorrow. Why not you? Why not you? I've had students before who wanted to become medical assistants. And I was asking, why a medical assistant? Why not an RN? Why not a doctor? That's for other people. Why not you, though? There's going to be doctors. There's going to be RNs. Why not you? Solve all of life's problems for you. No. It's like if I said to you guys, do me a favor, laugh. That's fake, dude. That's real. Because initially I didn't give you a reason to laugh. I just said laugh. You can't just command a person to laugh. You have to give them a reason to laugh. You can't just command a person to be happy. You've got to give them a reason to be happy. You can't just command a person to be optimistic. You have to have a reason to be optimistic. You can't command a person to love you. I don't care how long you have them tied up in that remote tool shed of yours. You can't force them to love you. You have to give them a reason to love you. And letting them go is not going to be enough of a reason, but you should. Your other perspective could be, well, there's no one here to help me, so I don't have the opportunities that somebody else has. The world is unfair. Scratch my chin and frown and say, so why bother trying? Two very different ways of going about it. And the first one, it's, well, no one's coming to help me, so now I need to do it by myself. And then afterwards you realize, I didn't need anybody else. And wouldn't it be better to be able to do things without other people? Not because you can become a misanthropic person who hates other people, but because that gives you the opportunity to be as self-sufficient as possible, so that when you actually do need help, you aren't like taxing everybody around you. It's like the one time that you actually really do need it. Yeah. Or not graduating, we could be missing one word after that. Yet. Because if you don't graduate in June, by the way, what happens if you don't graduate in June? Your world falls apart, right? You die. Or if you do survive it, you're going to end up penniless and homeless, living in a van down by the river, and no one's ever going to love you, right? Or here's another thing. You don't graduate in June, you go to the Learning Center, and then you rainbow graduate like a month later. You graduate in July. And if you're looking to go to a community college, for example, it doesn't hold you up even a single day, because you don't start the community college until August. So even if you graduate a month later, you're still going to graduate a month before your next step starts. And if you don't want to go to a community college, if you don't want to go to college at all, then it doesn't really hold you back at all. You just finish when you finish. Now, I'm not saying that you should not graduate, because you do miss the ceremony, you miss the pictures, you miss the stuff with your friends. But I'm thinking back to at least myself when I graduated. I know it's a different case, but I've got I think it's 2 pictures or 3 pictures of myself on my graduation day. I have them in my desk. There's, I think, 2 with my mom and 1 with my mom and my grandma. And that's it. That's the only pictures I have from that day. I remember almost nothing from that day. And I know that some people, especially if you came to homecoming on Friday, you'd have seen a lot of people who remember their high school graduation, because that was like the peak of their life. When they say these are the best days of your life? Is anybody else hoping that that's really not true? You're hoping really, this is as good as it gets? Yeah, I don't know. I hope that these are the worst days of your life. Not because I want your days to be bad, but because I want your tomorrows to be better than, I want the worst of your tomorrows to be better than the best of your todays. But there are people, if you were here last Friday, these really were the best days of their lives, and they've been living kind of like this slow downhill trot ever since then. And so, how important the graduation is to you, I think it maybe will depend on how important the next steps of your life are. Because it's a good memory. It is nice, I imagine, for a lot of people. Like I said, I don't remember much of it. But if it is something that you cherish, it's a good thing, and you don't want to miss out on that. But here's the thing. You don't graduate. You miss out on it because you screw up. But there's a couple of ways you can go after that. You can go with, wow, I need to get my stuff together. Because if I don't, I'm going to live a life like this for the rest of my life. And then you put yourself to it, and you get it done, and then you realize, I really could have done this in the first place. I had a student last year, by the way, who was like this. He ended up rainbow graduating because he failed. He was failing failing a couple classes, but he refused to take a grad plan because, according to him, quote, "that's the bitch way out." So he didn't do the grad plan. He's like, no, it's always been 44 credits. And this is a dude who, how do I say it? He's non-linear. In other words, he's not linear. He's kind of all over the place. He had an IEP, if you know what that is, and he refused to do any of it because he would say, no, the problem is not that I can't do it. He said, the problem is that people make too many excuses for me. I'm like, dude, this guy. And so he said he was listening to a talk one time I gave, and he was failing all of his classes because he just said that he didn't plan to graduate. And it occurred to him, like, I don't need to. He said, I talked to people who graduated before, and I realized they're not as smart. Like, I'm smarter than them. I can do more than this. And so if they could do it, why not me? So I was talking in classes one time about why not you? Who wants to be an astronaut? Well, I don't know if I can be. There's going to be astronauts tomorrow. Why not you? I want to be a professional, athlete. Well, there's going to be professional athletes tomorrow. Why not you? Why not you? I've had students before who wanted to become medical assistants. And I was asking, why a medical assistant? Why not an RN? Why not a doctor? That's for other people. Why not you, though? There's going to be doctors. There's going to be RNs. Why not you? And as soon as you can really ask yourself that question, like, why not me? And then you can see the things that are in your way to doing it. And then you have a game plan. You know exactly what you have to overcome. And so this guy, and by the way, he comes and visits here sometimes during this period. You might have seen him come through here a couple times already this year. And it just occurred to him, like, why not me? So he put his nose to it. And the dude ended up passing all of his classes except for one. And the one class he failed, I won't tell you what class it is, because then it would give who the teacher was. He failed it by 1.5%. 1.5%. He came back from like a 18% or whatever it was he had, up to what would have been a 58.5. And the teacher just asked, the teacher asked him, like say when he went to the teacher to ask him, is there anything I can do for that 1.5%? And he asked the student, well, what would you do if you were in my position? What would you say? And he just said, you probably won't then. So the teacher just nodded and goes, there you go. So he walked away. He said, I accepted it. I'm like, whoa, wrong answer. Your teacher asks you, well, what would you do if you were in my place? Stop, nod your head, crinkle your eyebrows like you're giving it serious consideration and say, if I was in your position, if I were you, I imagine that being as kind and as intelligent and as good of a person as you are in your heart, you would realize I've made a big change and would help me get through. And he just goes, I wish I had thought of that. But then he just said, no, I started from too far behind. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the rainbow graduation because that way I actually earn it. I'm not begging for it. I'm like, this guy. There's such a massive change in this guy in such a short period of time. And he came and saw me like a month ago, maybe like it was before break, so it was like a month ago. And he finished his credit and he just said, I kind of realized like right now, because he got an A in the credit recovery stuff, and he said, I could have been pulling A's all along, my whole high school career. I just didn't even realize it until my last semester as a senior. And then he kind of nods, he goes, I wonder what else I can do. And I go, why not you? I said, yeah, why not me? And so he's doing stuff now where he promotes bands and promotes clubs because that's what he really wants to do. And he's a sharp guy, he's a smart guy. And so my point is, he didn't graduate with his class. Was that a good thing or a bad thing? Turns out to be a good thing. At the time, it felt terrible because he didn't get to do the gown, the pictures, the stuff with his friends. But it put him on a much better trajectory for life so that high school will not be the best time of his life. High school is just going to be a jumping off point to the rest of his life because the skill that he taught himself, nobody else taught him that thing, did he? Taught himself that last semester is going to propel him forward. And I have every confidence that this guy's going to, and he's a good dude, he's got a good heart. And so I have every confidence that this guy's going to make something positive of himself. Not one bad experience. They say that thing about make lemons out of lemonade, or lemonade out of lemons, sorry. I don't know, man. Maybe make apple juice out of lemons. Let everybody wonder, how the hell did he do that? You know? So the stars were given. That's true. Stars are up there. What patterns we find in them, what meaning we make of them, whether we see them as a good thing or a bad thing, that's entirely on us. And it's difficult because it's hard. If you're a pessimistic person and I say to you, all right guys, start being optimistic. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques. Hey, are you depressed? Man, you know what you should do if you're depressed? It's obvious. Just start being happy. Duh. Questions, comments, concerns, solve all of life's problems for you. No. It's like if I said to you guys, do me a favor, laugh. That's fake, dude. That's real. Because initially I didn't give you a reason to laugh. I just said laugh. You can't just command a person to laugh. You have to give them a reason to laugh. You can't just command a person to be happy. You've got to give them a reason to be happy. You can't just command a person to be optimistic. You have to have a reason to be optimistic. You can't command a person to love you. I don't care how long you have them tied up in that remote tool shed of yours. You can't force them to love you. You have to give them a reason to love you. And letting them go is not going to be enough of a reason, but you should. You have to give a person a reason to be optimistic and happy. So when I say to you, it's about how you interpret it, whether it's going to be positive or negative. You have to choose to see it positively. That's difficult for a pessimist because if a pessimist doesn't have a reason to see things optimistically, it's difficult. And so what do you have to do? Just be positive. Now questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques. Boom, yeah.